Good morning, everyone. Happy Mother's Day to all you mothers. You're very welcome. So when I was in college, I had to take a psychology course as an elective. And during the course of the semester, one of the things that the professor talked to us about was dreams. And in particular, he talked about recurring dreams. And as I learned during that class, we all have recurring dreams. Those dreams that repeat themselves throughout our lives over and over and over again. And one of the days during one of the classes, the professor asked all of us to share with the class our recurring dream. Now keep in mind, these are 20 to 22-year-old guys and girls in a class who weren't afraid at all to share what their dreams were. So some of the dreams that they shared, I can't share with you today here in church. But I will share one in particular that one of the guys in my class shared with us. He had this dream that when he was a boy, he went on vacation with his family. Now, wherever they went, there were a lot of people there as well. And one night, while he was on vacation, went to bed, and when he woke up in his dream in the morning, everyone was gone. No one was left in the house with him. All of his family that went with him, gone. And when he went outside, everyone had left, and he was there by himself. And he shared that every time he had this dream, the fear and the anxiety that he went through, thinking that he didn't know where he was, because he was a young boy, didn't know where he was supposed to go, where everyone else left to, nor did he know how to find his way home. He said every time he had this dream, he just woke up terrified, because he didn't know the way. Didn't know where he was supposed to go. If we think about that in terms of our gospel reading today, we heard Jesus trying to teach his disciples as part of his Last Supper teachings to them that soon he was going to be leaving them. It was time soon for him to go home to his Father. So he was trying to get them prepared for the time when they would have to take his place, take over his role, and do the work that he called them to do. So he talked to them about in his Father's house there are many dwelling places. And if there weren't, would he have told them that where he was going to prepare a place for each and every one of them. He told them, do not be afraid, because I am preparing that place especially for you. And then we hear in the gospel reading where Thomas said, Master, we don't even know where you're going. How can we possibly know the way to get there? And then Jesus, as only Jesus can do in that reassuring way, said to Thomas, Thomas, I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the life. Jesus was still trying to convince his disciples, as we heard him say to Philip, they still didn't completely understand that he was God. He wasn't just the Messiah, wasn't just the Son of God, he was God himself. And they needed to have faith in him, just like they had faith in God. So Jesus told them they had to go out and do his work for him. And they had to do greater than what he did, because they had to go out without him. And as we heard in our first reading from the Acts of the Apostles today, they were going about doing their work, which they thought was to spread his word, to spread his good news to all of the people. But they were being criticized because people felt they weren't doing enough. In particular, they felt they weren't taking care of the women to make sure that they had everything they needed on a daily basis to take care of themselves with food for themselves and for their families. So they realized they needed help. They needed people to help them do Jesus' work for him. So as we heard in that first reading, they selected 7, starting with Stephen. And it doesn't say so in that first reading, but Stephen and the other 6 were the first deacons in the church. They were the first ones called to serve God's people, to serve God's children. So their initial job was to take care of the women, make sure they had enough food to get them through their day. And they had to give up all the things that they thought they were supposed to be doing in their lives to do what God was calling them to do. They answered the call. Even with all their fears, even with all their anxieties, all their concerns about whether they could do it or not, they said yes to what Jesus, God, was asking them to do. We are modern-day disciples. We are modern-day deacons, where we are all called to help serve God's church. He calls us all the time. But what do we say to God when we receive that call? How often when we hear someone ask us to do something for the church, to do something for God, do we find reasons? Do we find excuses to say, I just can't do that. I'm not comfortable getting up in front of people and talking about my faith, so I can't do what you're asking me to do. I'm not comfortable going up on the ambo and reading at Mass. That's just not within my comfort zone. But we have to be like those disciples. We have to be like those deacons. We have to trust God. Because as we heard Jesus say in the gospel reading, do not be afraid. Trust me. When we're called, we need to say yes. We need to put aside all of our fears, all of our anxieties, all of our concerns. Because do you really think if God is asking you to do something, He's not going to give you the tools to do it? He would never do that to us. If He's calling us and asking us to do something, we need to have the courage. We need to have the trust. We need to have the faith in Him to say yes. We are all going to be called soon to do so much more. For over 2 years now, you've been hearing the message from Bishop Zubik and from all of us about On Mission for the Church Alive. Next Sunday, make sure you pick up a bulletin, because in that bulletin you're going to receive the revised groupings that St. Colman will be in with the other churches in our area. This is still a proposal. It's still not finalized, but it is revised from the original models that we saw a number of months ago, based on the input that all of you had the opportunity to provide, that all of us had the opportunity to provide. And it tells us the parishes that we are most likely to become part of when On Mission is over this time next year. What it doesn't tell us is what you all want to know. The question we get asked all the time. Will St. Colman be one of the churches that will be open when On Mission is finished? We don't know that yet, because only the bishop will make that final decision in March of next year. But what I can tell you is this. If St. Colman is one of the churches that will be open, and we're hopeful that it will be, we can't be the St. Colman that we've always been. It just doesn't work anymore. We have to be better than what we've ever been. And the only way we're going to be a better parish is for each and every one of us to answer yes to God. To answer yes when you're asked to do more for the church. More to bring Jesus to those who still don't know Him. That's going to be our mission. To make St. Colman the vibrant parish as part of the larger parish that we will be part of, so that people will want to come here. They will want to join us in praising Christ, because our love for Him is so strong that it comes out and people see it. Each and every one of us will have to step out of our comfort zone and be willing to say yes. Because if we don't, we'll be back in this situation again 5 years from now. And we don't want that to happen. So we have a choice to make, as we do all the time. When we're called, if we choose again to say no, as we have done, all of us at some time in our lives, we'll be like that classmate of mine, lost in his dream, not knowing where it is he's supposed to go, having no idea how to get there, to get to that place that Jesus says in the gospel He's prepared for each one of us. We have to be a people that say yes to whatever it is God asks of us. And if we do, if we are willing to say yes to no matter what it is that we're asked to do, then we will be like the disciples that Jesus was talking to. We will recognize Jesus as the way, as God, who will lead us by doing the works that He asks us to do to that place that He's prepared for each and every one of us. That place in the heavenly kingdom where we all desire to be. Be willing to say yes. Be willing to step up. Be willing to take the path that Christ has laid out for each and every one of us.